My name is Patrick Beckman, and I'm Director of Software Engineering at MySQL. Next, I have the pleasure to introduce to you a great partner of ours, Zamanda, the leader in open source backup software, and their CEO and founder, Chandler Kant. Chandler was started off as a researcher in database performance until he moved into storage and high availability. During his 4 years at Veritas, he noticed how overpriced backup software was used as a cash cow, and he recognized that in fairness to customers, this area should be commoditized. So Chandler founded Zamanda and started to combine the greatness of open source with data protection software. Chandler was named one of the top 20 Linux luminaries by Linux World Magazine in 2004. Today, he will present to us on how to protect your data in LAMP-based applications. Ladies and gentlemen, Chandler Kant.
Thanks, Patrick. Good morning to everyone. First of all, I'd like to start by thanking our host, MySQL, for inviting Zamanda to this party. Actually, MySQL user conference is very near and dear to our hearts at Zamanda because we actually publicly launched the company 1 year ago at the same venue. And today I will share some of the progress that we have made in this past 1 year. Let's see if this thing works. So this is the 4th day of the 5th MySQL user conference. I don't think I need to sell you on the LAMP stack. So we will sort of move along these flux slides very quickly. If you attended Martin's opening keynote, he talked about architecture of participation. I very much believe that this LAMP stack is the cornerstone for that architecture of participation. LAMP stack has created completely new ways of producing, distributing, and consuming goods and services, so fueling an economy of its own. While dramatically reducing the cost of prototyping ideas, whether they are good ideas or completely bizarre ideas, LAMP stack has created completely new players, lingos, and currencies. In the past, the value of LAMP stack was most visible in e-commerce application. Today, e-commerce remains a very important component of LAMP-based applications, but it's certainly not the only one. Communities and companies around the world continue to pack in more and more value in applications based on LAMP stacks. One place where this value is very apparent is user-generated content. I think of user-generated content as one of the key currencies of this LAMP economy. User-generated content is something that resides on applications built on the LAMP stack. And this is where there is a very cool relationship between open source communities and user-generated content, because LAMP stack typically powers the collaboration tools that are used by many of these communities, and then these communities use those tools to further enhance their projects. For open source companies like Zamanda, user-generated content, so actually I just lost my visual there. So for companies like Zamanda, the collaboration tools are the ways that we produce and distribute our software. So actually, I lost my visual here, so I don't know which slide I'm on.
Importance of data protection.
Right, thank you. So one of the interesting things happens with the LAMP stack, that some of the LAMP stack based applications get deployed below the radar screen of the money managers. So if your money managers are not writing a check of hundreds of thousands of dollars to your technology companies, they may not think of these as assets that need to be protected in your organization. But on the flip side, these applications are very vital for your organization. Many of these applications are expected to stay on forever, while dealing with all the hazards that IT managers deal with. Computers fail, people make mistakes, and all of that stuff that you are aware of. So LAMP stack actually shifts the value from this technology into your business application applications and data, which is exactly where it should be. Beyond the hazards that IT managers deal with in the usual world, the LAMP stack comes with its own perils. So at Zamanda, when we started using forums as the key way for communicating between us and our users, one fine day we showed up and our forums were filled with all kinds of spam. And the snapshot here is only the PG rated side of the spam that we saw on our forums that day. So we had to very painfully go through all of the messages and remove them, which took a whole lot of time. So another aspect that happens is that LAMP applications have very stringent recovery point objective. What do I mean by that? So there are two aspects to recovery point objective in LAMP-based applications. One is discovering the point to which you want to recover to, and then second is to actually recover to that point. So in our case, for example, what we would have loved to do is to recognize that we wanted to recover to the point right before that rogue user who basically spewed hundreds and thousands of messages on our forum, and then recover our database just before that user logged in. So instead of going through and deleting each one of those messages, we could just recover to that particular point. Few other aspects make LAMP-based application even more challenging from a data protection standpoint. For example, many of these applications are characterized with the fact that there is no physical record associated with them. So for example, I don't think any of you keep a printout of all of the forum messages that are on a user forum that you might be supporting. Besides, LAMP applications typically power websites where there is basically no possibility of a downtime. As Paul mentioned just before me, if you are dealing with an application like that where downtime is simply not an option, how do you back that up? How do you test that backup? It becomes very, very challenging. Another aspect of LAMP applications is that they tend to scale out rather than scale up. In fact, this is considered one of the cool things of deploying LAMP-based applications, because you can start very small and grow your IT infrastructure as your company grows. Actually, we heard about a really cool way of describing this phenomenon just before me, EMD, even more databases to scale your applications. How do you back that up? How do you make sure that your backup archive is point in time consistent across all of this data, which is spread across multiple machines, multiple file systems, multiple databases? Now, many LAMP applications tend to be hosted remotely at your hosting provider, which adds an additional degree of complexity in all of this. So now you are not dealing with backing up a database which is within your firewall, you are backing up a database which is on somebody else's LAMP stack. You have to manage things like security, network bandwidth. You have to figure out where will you be recovering this data. Maybe you are trying to protect yourself against an issue where this hosting provider will go away, or you will no longer be happy with your services. So you may want to recover this data at a completely different hosting provider. How do you test such a restore scenario? So one opportunity of having your database remote anyway is to back it up on a storage grid like Amazon S3. You know, there has also been all kinds of rumors about Google at some point coming out with storage grid. So these storage grids are becoming more and more popular because of several reasons. One reason is that you can use them as you go. You basically pay what you use, you pay for bandwidth and storage, and many of these storage grids are characterized by very commoditized pricing. So if you can back up your remotely hosted MySQL database onto a highly available storage grid like Amazon S3, then why do you want to deal with clunky tape hardware anyway? Because this gives you both backup and a disaster recovery solution in one go. And another key benefit here is that even if you are a small company, by doing this kind of backup, you can have the risk profile of a much larger organization like Amazon. So we came here last year and we conducted a bird of feather session because we wanted to know what do MySQL DBAs really want in their backup solution. So I will sort of touch upon Zemenda's products in a second here, but we were going down the path of stereotypical backup solutions that exist in the market today, where you would have a backup vendor which will provide you a network-based backup, and then they will write an agent for that network-based backup to back up your database. And we were sort of going down that path, and we just wanted to know from the DBAs, hey, in this kind of architecture, what kind of additional features do you want in your MySQL backup? It was amazing to us that this bird of feather session, which had I think about 20 participants, completely reset our plans. One of the big things that the DBAs mentioned to us was, wait a minute, we do not want another backup solution which is actually built for a system administrator and not for a database administrator. They specifically wanted a backup solution which was built for MySQL and applications based on MySQL. And I will go over why these requirements were so strong. As you would notice, actually I have the word easy written 3 times on this slide. That was one big thing that the DBA mentioned. They wanted no headaches with their backup solution. So the most common ways that MySQL gets backed up today is by writing a script around MySQL dump. In fact, very quick show of hands, how many of you have a backup strategy like that, a script around MySQL dump? So almost like more than half of the room. So, which is great because MySQL DBAs, many of the MySQL DBAs also tend to be good developers and they can write these scripts and get something going. But these DBAs in our board of feather who also had such backup solution working in their organization, one of the things that they mentioned was that they were missing a whole lot of other things in this script that they have written, which still gives them headache. So for example, one of the things that they mentioned was, well, how do we test that our backups are really happening? They wanted a very easy way to verify that their backups were actually happening and they will be able to recover after a disaster. They wanted to have minimal impact on the application, so they wanted to have as few locks as possible during the backup process itself. While in a backup company or while you guys creating a backup solution, one of the things that I've seen is that we get hung up on the backup process a whole lot more than we should, because the process that we should be focusing on is, well, what is going to be the life when you want to recover? How easy will it be to recover the database to a point in time? And so the DBAs told us that they want an easy to use mechanism which can let them identify the point to which they want to recover to, and by a point they mean either a particular transaction or a particular point in time, and then actually do the recovery to that point in time. And they wanted to do all of this without losing the benefits of open source and open standards. One issue that you should always remember is that if you are backing up data today, and let's say this data has a retention policy of a few years, and let's say you have to recover a few years from now, you may have to recover this data even without the software that you initially used to back it up. And if you used a data format which was proprietary, which you had no clue about, then what you need to do is not only you need the software of the vendor that you initially used to write this tape with, you actually need the exact version number of the software that you used a few years ago. Instead, if you used a very openly defined format to write to tape or whatever backup media you have, you could potentially recover from that even if that vendor's software was not around. And again, as I said, DBAs told us they want the solution to be as easy to deploy and maintain as possible. So where does Zemenda fit into this picture? So we are actually in an interesting place when it comes to the LAMP stack. Zemenda uses LAMP stack extensively inside our products as well as inside our company. We have a relatively modest IT infrastructure. I believe we have more than 15 different LAMP stacks deployed around the company serving various applications like CRM, blog, wiki, forums, etc. We also have products which back up all layers of the LAMP stack. Zemenda was formed around a project called Amanda, which is the world's most popular open source backup project, which backs up a network full of Linux file systems. After the feedback from users in the last user conference, we came out with a new product to specifically back up MySQL called Amanda Recovery Manager for MySQL, and I'll spend a couple of minutes on that in a second. We also built our own management console to manage our products using the LAMP stack. So let me first go over Amanda Recovery Manager for MySQL very quickly. So Amanda Recovery Manager for MySQL is what I would call one-stop shop for backup and recovery of MySQL databases. The most important feature of this product is it enables you to recover your database to any point of time that you have identified. So if you identify that, hey, your forums got hacked and you want to recover to the point before this particular user created a login, this will allow you to do so. It allows you to schedule either logical or raw backups. So the distinction there is that a logical backup is basically a bunch of SQL statements which allow you to recreate your database, whereas raw backup is basically the underlying binary files. So there are trade-offs in these kinds of two different techniques. A logical backup tends to be more flexible. You can, for example, delete certain SQL statements while you restore your database, so you can do some after-fact tuning, which you cannot do with raw backup. On the other hand, raw backup tends to be much faster than logical backup. I think Paul talked about upgrading from, say, MySQL 4 to MySQL 5. If you are doing logical backup, it makes it a little more easier to do so. One issue or a challenge with LAMP-based applications when thinking about backup is their versatility. So in general, the versatility of LAMP stacks in MySQL is thought of as one of its biggest positives. But on the flip side, when you are designing a backup solution, well, what do you tune your backup solution to? What storage engine are you using right now? What will you be using in a few months from now? So you want to have a backup strategy which encompasses this versatility. You don't want to be pigeonholed into backing up only one particular way of implemented MySQL, because within your own organization you will find how MySQL gets implemented is changed very rapidly over time. So the Recovery Manager for MySQL product is intelligent about various storage engines. So one of the things that this product does is basically it looks at what kind of MySQL implementation you have and then tries to figure out the best possible way to back up that particular implementation. And then after it has exhausted all various options, MySQL dump is the least common denominator. So if it cannot do anything else, it will eventually do MySQL dump. The product has a console with RSS reporting, and it enforces your site-specific backup policies. So if you have 7-year retention policy, it will remove the archives one day after the 7th year. So at Amanda, we think that backup should be a very easy problem for you to solve, as easy as answering these 4 questions. What do you want to back up? What databases, what file systems, what servers? Where do you want to back up? What tapes, what storage grids, what disks? When do you want to back up? Last night, every Sunday night, first of every month. And how do you want to back up? Compressed, encryption, stuff like that. So we built a GUI which basically asks you just those 4 questions, and then you click go or activate in our case, and you are done. By the way, when we were developing this GUI, we had fun with whether we should have Y button in this navigation as well. But then we decided that if somebody has downloaded the Amanda backup product, they have probably figured out why they want to do backup. So one of the interesting aspects of this particular project for me personally was that Amanda Management Console, which is the GUI on top of our backup products, is the third GUI that I have managed in my technology career. And the previous 2 were based, the first one was based on Curses. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that particular technology. The second one was based on Java, and this third one is based on Ajax and PHP. And it was amazing to me how quickly this project was done and how rich the final outcome was. We can do so many more cool things because of this development done on top of LAMP stack that were basically just not possible in the GUI projects that I was involved with in the past. A LAMP-based GUI basically enables us to do cool stuff like making user experience evolve as we get to learn more about what they are facing. So as we see, well, our user used the vendor management console and they got stuck in this particular location. Hey, we should have helped them. We should have pointed them to a particular piece of documentation in our knowledge base, or maybe pointed them to an article on Wikipedia. We could basically do this dynamically for them. So this ever-evolving GUI, which is based on the LAMP stack, is I believe, a super cool phenomena that is only possible because of availability of the LAMP stack and all the technologies built on top of that. Now, when we think of LAMP stack, we think that the data generated by the LAMP stack will be visible on small browser screens on our maybe 19-inch LCDs. But that's not the only place where LAMP data gets visible. We have one customer called AdSpace, which is the largest in-mall advertising network in the US. They display data which is stored in LAMP stack on 60-inch plasma screens built on 8-foot structures in malls around the US. So they chose LAMP stack for their application because of basically two reasons. One, the primary one was cost, and second one was very good availability of LAMP consultants around the world. And they picked the vendor recovery manager because they specifically wanted point-in-time recovery and they wanted to be able to back up their data much more extensively than just last night because of the high-value content they were storing in their LAMP stack. If you are searching on the internet, the typical places to go are Google and Yahoo. But if you want to discover cool sites, one of the coolest sites that I use is called StumbleUpon. StumbleUpon is a major website, a very cool Web 2.0 company. They have more than 2.1 million users. So you can choose specific topics that you are interested in and basically let StumbleUpon search those, some websites related to those topics for you. So for example, I use StumbleUpon extensively, and for a single geek like me, I can always use dating tips. So you can just pick a topic for dating tips in StumbleUpon and then just stumble upon and you will find interesting sites. Whether they will be useful or not, I cannot vouch for that, but they will be definitely very entertaining. So anyway, so the interesting thing about StumbleUpon, one more thing that I find very interesting is, I remember I talked about user-generated content. This is slightly different. This is user-discovered content. And still it has a lot of value. So all StumbleUpon has is database of 2.1 million users and their preferences and their words. And that is their business, which grows by the minute. And they want to back it up because if they lose that data, they are toast. So they deployed Zemenda Recovery Manager to back up this database, which is growing by the minute. And they specifically did that because they could not do full backups at a pace that they wanted to, and our product enabled them to do incremental backup without any locking. So I specifically did not create a summary slide because I wanted this to be a continued dialogue. So I have my email address there. If you are interested in LAMP or MySQL backup technologies, I would be thrilled to hear from you. And if you would like to communicate with broader Zemenda community, please do use our forums, forums.zemenda.com, which are obviously hosted on a LAMP stack. Thank you.